right, tonight we are going downtown Kansas City again. We're actually going on a music video shoot for some friends of mine called State Line. We Are State Lines, whatever. Check them out. Also, Gabe's helping me behind the camera. Check his channel out. We got someone coming. But I wanted to give you some info. I updated some pieces on my rig. So I updated a few things on my rig to kind of just make it a little more compact and a little more mobile. So starting with the small rig base plate with the 15mm rail. This is, I'll put a link below, but this piece is really way better than my last one. And I actually have to flip it upside down to use it. So note to anyone that's thinking about buying this, you just have to flip it upside down, but then it actually fits my matte box perfectly. Whereas the old piece did not fit at all. I showed you guys there was some space in there, but now no space, no dead space. Really fits really nicely in there. Second update is I'm using the small rig swiveling, what would that be? Small rig swiveling monitor plate instead of the friction arm, and I really like this. It's way easier to use one-handed by just tilting up and down, whereas the friction arm I had to actually manually loosen and tighten and move the monitor. So I'm really liking this setup. Sorry for those of you who have gotten the friction arm. I still use it, but it's not my preferred method. This is really working out a lot better. So we're gonna go shoot with it tonight downtown KC and try out all of the elements. Also, I added the little control arm for my follow focus, and that helps out a lot too, because it's just reduces the friction when you're pulling focus on the go. So really excited to try this out downtown. Check out the music video. We'll put a link in the description. Thanks for watching.
Before we jump into this episode, I wanted to give you just a quick history of myself, because I know I'm getting a lot more views on these videos specifically. So I wanted to just give you a little background on me, so you're not just like, who is this random guy who thinks he knows anything about video. So I started shooting video and photo about 20 years ago. I'm now 35. So when I was about 15, early high school, I got into photography and videography, and my very first camera would have been a Canon Rebel 2000 35mm film camera. So I learned photography on film because the DSLR was not yet around. And my very first video camera would have been the Sony Hi8 camcorder, whatever they called it, a handy cam. Sony Hi8 Handycam, you know, took the Hi8 tapes, and then you'd have to transfer via transfer card, an analog transfer card from your camera in real time to your slow PC through some sort of a capture card. At the time I used the Pinnacle PCI card. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. So I learned on analog and have been developing this now for about 20 years and have been following along with the DSLR trend and now the mirrorless trend. I owned one of the very first DSLRs that shot videos, the Nikon D90, a revolutionary camera. Of course, now they've come such a long way. The video quality of that thing is pathetic now that you look back at it, and it offered 720, which was phenomenal at the time. Anyway, so fast forward now, I've been developing my skills for 20 years. I now own a company here in Kansas City called Faro Films, and we do a lot of different things. And something that I actually, there's a large music community here where I live, and I've been able to actually be involved in a lot of music video productions where I'm either directing or helping produce, helping shoot. So I guess you could say my specialty is music videos, and this episode we're going to take a look at a few that I've been able to shoot recently here locally in Kansas City as well as Colorado. And I'm going to show you how I get a film look on my videos with the Blackmagic 6K. I updated my base plate. You may or may not be able to tell. The rig is just kind of sitting here for good looks right now. But I changed out my base plate from the FOTCA plate that I showed you all earlier in the setup video. I'll put a link to that. But I changed to the small rig plate that is basically two flat mounting plates with a rail mount in between. Now, I flipped it upside down because there's just a few more millimeters of height when you flip it upside down the way the rail mount was actually engineered. There's just a few more millimeters and it works absolutely perfectly with my matte box. Now my Zine lens fits perfectly inside the FOCA DP500 matte box. And I'm really pleased with this setup. It's a lower profile now, so it's not quite as high and bulky and shaky. And I told you guys about the problem I was having with that adjustable FOCA mount, where it was just a little bit loose and my mount was constantly kind of riding forward outside of the range of my follow focus. So I'm really pleased with this specific rail mount. The other thing that I changed was this small rig. Instead of the friction arm, I'm trying out this small rig swivel monitor mount directly on the back of my small rig top handle, rubber top handle. All the links are below. And I really like this because I can, on the go be adjusting my tilt and pan of the actual monitor. So if I need to change positions, as you'll see in this video we shot inside a car, I was in very tight quarters and had to change positions, and I just don't have the time or flexibility to just mess with the friction arm for a while. So I'm really liking this. I still have the friction arm and I plan on using it, especially for certain accessories. But right now I'm really liking this small rig mount. One other accessory that I recently got was the Asden shotgun mic, and I'll put a link to that as well. Here's my take on shotgun mics, on-camera shotgun mics. In my opinion, they're not worth the money. The audio that you will get from a shotgun mic as opposed to the in-camera microphone, nowadays the in-camera mics are great, and if you're doing vlogging right here, it's 32 inches from your face, the in-camera microphone is going to do just as well, in my opinion. And I certainly don't think that buying the Rode video mics that are $130, $200, even $300, I don't think that the audio quality you'll get will be worth that much. So in saying that, I did buy the Asden, and I've actually owned this one before as well as Rode mics. It gives me slightly better sound, particularly in windy conditions, because it's got the nice foam windscreen. So that's, I decided I'm going to try it out again and maybe specifically use it for this if I need any extra audio as I'm shooting run and gun, taking my rig real quick, plugging it in. So I like it for the price. It is the best microphone that I've found for the price. I really like it as opposed to most of the Rode microphones out there, and you're going to save money. So that's gear update. Also, just a note, the Zine lens that I'm using here, as well as the other Zine lenses in the Zine Cine line, are all on sale right now for under $1,500, which is a steal. Now, I totally get that, you're getting a prime lens. It's got one focal length and it's expensive. I totally get that, but at the same time, this thing is absolutely worth it for this camera. And if you have a budget, if you know that you're only going to be using manual focus, I would say get a Zine lens like the 24 or the 35. You will use that for everything, and honestly, I've been cropping a lot in post-production anyway. So there's a lot of workarounds, and I think that the picture quality is worth the $1,500, especially because they used to be $2,000 regularly, and now on sale for $1,500. I think these are one of the best lenses you could get for this camera. And also another gear note, I've seen several people using the Angelbird SSDs, and I personally use the Samsung T5. And every single person that has used the Angelbird drives when I've been shooting with them has had issues with the Angelbird. Basically what's happening is the camera's not reading it. The drive is not mounting to the camera, and so sometimes it just won't show up. It'll look like there's no card in the camera. So I would tend to stay away from them, and for some reason they're more expensive than the Samsung, and yet the Samsung, in my opinion, is a much more reliable drive and smaller and slimmer, and I just think it's all around better because the Angelbird actually has a hardwired USB-C cable. So in my opinion, they're not the best option. I highly recommend the Samsung T5. I have not had any issues yet with those. Now let's get to the whole point of this video. So just a heads up, I am not a YouTuber. I'm not I'm not someone who makes money or a living off of YouTube. I'm not even close to that point. I'd love it if that happened, but I'm mostly here to help you guys out and really give you some info on the things that I've found that are helpful when using my 6K, because I know that not everyone can really afford a 6K. Not everyone can afford to just buy elements, and I can't really either, but I have a budget with my company to be able to try different things out. So my whole purpose with this is that you guys will benefit from the things that I've found are good or not good. And if you have any recommendations, please, again, comment below and let me know, because I welcome your suggestions as always. So thank you for those. Now let's get to film. How do you get this thing to look like film? To be quite honest, these look great. They don't look quite like film when you load it up in your NLE. Reds and REs definitely look a lot closer to film right out of the box. You can load up that footage and it looks spectacular. This you have to do some work, but it's super easy, and I'm going to show you my shortcut. So I got to do 3 music videos in the past month. One we shot out in Colorado in Winter Park area out in the National Forest. Second one we drove down to Kansas.
We're in the middle of
Nowhere.
God knows where,
Yeah.
Kansas, because we're doing some drone shots, and the guys just drove off.
They're gone.
Into the abyss, and they aren't answering their phone.
We also have no service.
Yeah, we have like 1 bar.
Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, because that's what these guys wanted for their music video, and it's a really cool idea. And then the third one we actually shot downtown Kansas City, and what they were specifically wanting. So my 2 clients it was 2 clients with 3 videos. My 2 clients both wanted a cinematic look. Cinematic isn't always popular because basically cinematic is a kind of a flatter look, you know, and some people like it, some people don't. It's all based on the preference of the director and the editor. You know, you're gonna get so many different looks, and there's so many ways to achieve those looks. My simple way is called FILMCONVERT. If you've never heard of it, this is a software that is either a standalone or a plugin for your NLE, and I think they have standalone for every single one. You know, Premiere, DaVinci, Final Cut, After Effects, plus a few others. And it's awesome. So what I'll do in my process is I'll shoot it in a flat profile. And this has Cine profile, it has video profile, and then Cine and video, kind of a hybrid. And actually it's not bad, but I shoot on cinema on film look. And I like to shoot it flat because you get a better dynamic range. If you're unfamiliar with it, go Google it, dynamic range. It has a better dynamic range when you're shooting flat, as well as, you know, the Sonys have a better dynamic range when you shoot in S-Log. And so I tend to shoot that way, and I'll edit the raw footage in post. So FILMCONVERT is my go-to because it's probably the most accurate film recreation for video that I've seen. Premiere actually has some presets inside its software, but FILMCONVERT just takes it to the next level and actually has been used on many feature films that have been shot digitally. So a lot of people that are shooting with RED cameras or RE cameras will throw FILMCONVERT on their footage and just looks like film. So here's a few examples. I'm gonna start off with some driving in the car through Kansas, some just from the car, outside the car, walking shots, and you'll see the original footage. I'll show you just the flat footage, and then you'll see graded, you'll see the FILMCONVERT added, and then what I do is I will color my footage after FILMCONVERT, because FILMCONVERT changes the way it looks, and sometimes I'm not happy with the initial way it looks just slapping FILMCONVERT. So I'll actually do my color correction and color grading after I add FILMCONVERT. So that way I know how it's actually going to look, because it changes. Also a note on FILMCONVERT, it does slow down your CPU. So it's wise to edit your sequence before applying FILMCONVERT. So what I do is I add an adjustment layer with FILMCONVERT on that adjustment layer, and I'm really happy with that process. And that's a really good workaround. So I can just turn that layer on and off whenever I need and whenever I want to preview it. Also, FILMCONVERT adds time when you're exporting, probably doubles or triples your exporting time, which I know sucks, but it really will be worth it. And what's nice about FILMCONVERT is you have control over all the parameters. You can even do some basic color correction inside of FILMCONVERT. So what you see is what you get. You don't need to apply lumetri afterwards. But I do, because there's certain things that I like to get that FILMCONVERT color correction doesn't offer. But going back to FILMCONVERT, you can set your grain levels, I think, from 0 to 200%. So if you like that really gritty, grainy, dirty film look, you can get it right out of the box. And they've got some amazing film stocks that just look phenomenal. So now I'm going to show you some downtown night Kansas City footage that we shot for this other video. What they wanted was black and white. And so FILMCONVERT has some really nice ILFORD film stocks that look fantastic. Actually, some of this is probably some of my favorite looking footage, is the black and white stuff, because it just looks, it's that gritty, dirty film look. So I'm really happy with it. And what I did with this one was I basically slapped a bunch of clips into my sequence, put my adjustment layer over top of it with FILMCONVERT and an ILFORD film stock on FILMCONVERT on that adjustment layer, and export it and send it to them, and they loved it. So clients love it, and I think it looks phenomenal. And it's a product I would highly recommend for any amateur filmmakers, videographers. It takes your video to a different level. It gives it that little bit of extra polished look to it, as opposed to just a basic video. So check out FILMCONVERT. I really love it. I also love working with the 6K footage. And here's a few more clips that I'll show you before we end from the 6K. And I told you guys I was going to be going to Wyoming to shoot some stuff with the 6K. Unfortunately, I had to postpone that trip. We are still going to go, so stay tuned. Please subscribe and like if you like these videos. We will be going to Wyoming and a few other locations soon. And we're going to shoot as much as we can with the 6K. So thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you again.
Under blue skies, and next year in the winter, let's give it a try.